Okay, so I wanted to go over how we were able to create those buttons that we made. So I'm just going to remove these. And it'll make sense as we move forward how these buttons can really be useful for us. But let's just jump right in. First off, we need to come up with a way that we can select all the curves. So if you remember, we have our little IK, FK switches, and that's on this layer. We don't want these to be selected, so before we make our button, we want to turn these off because we do not want that as part of our selection. That'll actually throw an error into the button. Okay, so all the way down here to the bottom right, if we click and open our script editor, if you guys remember, we can if we click this button, it erases the top. If we click this button, it erases the bottom. Or if we click this, it erases them both. So let's just click that one and just clear everything out. Okay, so for our first button, we want to be able to select only curves. So if we come up to the top here and we turn all this off, except for the curves, if we just drag a box around all the curves, so a big box, it kind of gets it all, including that bottom one, well, we get this line of code. So that's great. So we can click and drag up and get it, or we can do Control A as in Atom, Control C as in cat, and then come down here and do Control V as in Victor, and we can paste that down here. So again, Control A, and then we'll just come up here with that selected down here. By clicking Control A, we can come up here and do File. So again, just making sure that we're in our Custom tab, File, Save Script to Shelf, and we'll just call this CRVS for curves, and okay. So now if I click off and I don't have anything selected, if I just click curves, I'll get that selected. And that's going to make a really easy way to get a selection so that I can set keyframes whenever I need to, instead of trying to flip things off and all this sort of stuff. Or yeah, it'll just make a very easy way to be able to select our curves. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is select our dude. We need to duplicate him, and then we need to combine him. So we need to do those 3 steps. Well, right now we need to turn off curves because we don't want to select curves. We want to turn on the little geometry. So again, just making sure over here that we are in our channel layer, or our channel box layer editor. So we have those tabs, the attribute editor, and so forth. We just want to make sure that we're in our channel box layer editor. And if we scroll down over here, even though I have the geometry on, I can't actually select my dude because it's set to restricted right now. So I'm just going to click where that little R is in that box, and it's going to go away. And now I can select the dude. Okay, so making sure that everything's cleared except for the little geometry. The R is off. Let's go ahead and erase everything again. So that third little eraser. Let's click that. So let's drag another big box around our guy to get all of him, and that gives us a line of code. Let's duplicate this by going to Edit, Duplicate, or Control D as in dog. That gives us 2 lines of code, and then that little commented third section. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, we just need to go to Mesh and Combine, and that's perfect. That gives us everything that we need. So I'm just gonna Control A, Control C as in cat, Control V as in Victor, and then I'm just gonna remove these It's gonna remove these red lines, delete those out, delete. And now this is actually gonna give us an error because everything after the word polyunite is referencing stuff that is very specific, and so if we try to do this more than once, it's going to start giving us some errors. So we just want to clear all this out. So I'm just going to go select all that stuff and delete it, and then I'm just going to make sure I'm backspaced all the way up to that E, and I'm just going to put a semicolon. So that's all we need for the third line. Lowercase p-o-l-y, capital U-n-i-t-e with a semicolon. Okay. And then from here, I'm just going to do Control A, come back up here, File, save script to shelf. And let's name this DUP for duplicate and OBJ for object. And let's just click OK. So now if we come over here and we delete that duplicated object, and we click this button, we should get a duplicated object every time we click that button, which is going to be great for a guide as we move along with our animation. And we'll demonstrate that more in class, how we're going to utilize that, but that is a quick review over how to make those lines of code and then turn them into 2 buttons that we're going to use. All right, hope that helps.